What you are about to watch is beyond bizarre. Over the years, child actors have played roles that were way too mature for their age. But what's even more shocking is how well they handled these intense characters. Some even won awards. You'll be surprised at just how unsettling these roles were for such young and innocent kids. Patty McCormick, The Sociopath, The Bad Seed, 1956. Patty McCormick's portrayal of Rhoda Penmark in The Bad Seed remains one of cinema's most chilling child performances. Based on Maxwell Anderson's play, the film explores nature versus nurture, as Rhoda, a seemingly perfect 8-year-old, murders a classmate to steal a penmanship medal. McCormick's performance was nuanced, blending saccharine charm with cold detachment, particularly in scenes where Rhoda calmly burns a caretaker alive or feigns innocence while manipulating adults. The film's ending, altered from the original play to comply with production code norms, controversially suggested Rhoda survives unscathed. Critics praised McCormick's ability to embody evil without overt theatrics, earning her an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress. However, the role typecast her. Audiences struggled to separate her from Rhoda, limiting her opportunities. McCormick later transitioned to character roles in TV and theater, but The Bad Seed remains her legacy. The film sparked debates about depicting child sociopathy, influencing later horror tropes of evil children like The Omen. Linda Blair, Demon-Possessed Girl, The Exorcist, 1973. At 14, Linda Blair became synonymous with horror as Regan McNeil in The Exorcist. Directed by William Friedkin, the film's graphic possession scenes, vomiting pea soup, head-spinning, and blasphemous dialogue were groundbreaking. Blair endured grueling makeup sessions, lasting 6 to 8 hours daily, and a harness for the bed-shaking scenes, which caused a spinal injury. Mercedes McCambridge voiced the demon, but Blair's physical commitment sold the horror. Religious groups protested the film, accusing it of glorifying Satanism, while audiences fainted in theaters. Blair won a Golden Globe and received an Oscar nomination, but backlash haunted her. She faced death threats and struggled to find non-horror roles. Despite this, she became a pop culture icon and animal rights activist. The Exorcist redefined horror, with Blair's performance remaining a benchmark for on-screen terror. Tatum O'Neal, A Grown-Up Child, Paper Moon, 1973. Tatum O'Neal made history at 10 as the youngest competitive Oscar winner for Paper Moon. Directed by her father, Peter Bogdanovich. Set in the Great Depression, O'Neal played Addie Loggins, a sharp-tongued orphan who teams with con man Moses Prey, Ryan O'Neal, her real-life father. Addie's wit and moral complexity, scamming mourners while longing for stability, challenged stereotypes of child characters. Bogdanovich tailored the role for Tatum, leveraging her natural feistiness. Their off-screen tension mirrored the film's combative dynamic, adding authenticity. Critics praised her chemistry with Ryan and her precocious timing, but fame took a toll. Tatum later struggled with addiction and a fractured relationship with her father. Despite sporadic roles, Paper Moon endures as a testament to her raw talent. Harvey Stevens, The Antichrist, The Omen, 1976. 6-year-old Harvey Stevens's silent menace as Damien Thorne in The Omen terrified audiences. Directed by Richard Donner, the film follows an ambassador, Gregory Peck, realizing his adopted son is the Antichrist. Stevens' blank stares and eerie smiles, especially during a zoo scene where animals recoil, heightened the dread. The role required minimal dialogue, relying on presence. Donner reportedly coached him by comparing Damien to a puppy who doesn't know he's evil. The film's ominous atmosphere was amplified by real-life tragedies, including a plane strike on the crew and Peck's son's suicide, fueling rumors of a curse. Stevens avoided typecasting, later becoming a sailor and businessman. But Damien remains iconic, spawning sequels and a 2006 remake. Jodie Foster, Child in Danger, Taxi Driver, 1976. At 12, Jodie Foster delivered a harrowing performance as Iris, a child prostitute in Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver. Foster researched the role by studying real-life sex workers, later stating she understood Iris's survival instinct. The film's graphic themes sparked outrage, with critics questioning the ethics of casting a minor. Foster's mother chaperoned her, ensuring emotional safety, while Scorsese framed Iris's vulnerability through Travis Bickle's, Robert De Niro, fractured perspective. Foster earned an Oscar nomination, but the role led to typecasting. She took a hiatus to attend Yale. Her resilience paid off. She later won Oscars for The Accused and The Silence of the Lambs. Taxi Driver remains a landmark, showcasing Foster's precocious depth. Christian Bale, Child in War, Empire of the Sun, 1987. Steven Spielberg's 1987 war drama, Empire of the Sun, marked a pivotal moment in young Christian Bale's career, offering him a bizarre and intense introduction to Hollywood's demands. The film, based on J.G. Ballard's semi-autobiographical novel, follows Jamie Jim Graham, a British boy navigating survival in a Japanese internment camp during World War II. For his portrayal, the then 13-year-old Bale underwent a dramatic physical transformation, losing 30 pounds to authentically depict starvation, a requirement that pushed the boundaries of what was typically asked of child actors. His emotional breakdowns, including a powerful scene where he sings a Welsh lullaby as planes soar overhead, were often unscripted moments captured through Spielberg's encouragement of improvisation. This approach created raw, authentic performances, but also placed significant emotional strain on the young actor. The role was notably bizarre for a child actor in several ways. First, it required Bale to portray extreme physical deterioration and psychological trauma at an age when most child actors were given lighthearted or heroic roles. Second, the improvisational techniques used by Spielberg demanded that Bale draw from personal emotional experiences to create authentic moments on screen, a technique more commonly reserved for experienced adult actors. Despite the film's underperformance at the box office, Bale's intense experience on set cemented his dedication to method acting and extreme physical transformations, an approach that would become his trademark in later films like The Machinist and The Fighter. The role remains one of the most demanding given to a child actor in Hollywood history, representing a rare exploration of war's brutal impact on youth through the lens of a major director. Kirsten Dunst, Vampire Trapped in a Child's Body. Interview with the Vampire, 1994. At just 10 years old, Kirsten Dunst delivered a stunning performance as Claudia, the tragic vampire child eternally trapped in a child's body, in Neil Jordan's 1994 adaptation of Anne Rice's novel. The role presented one of the most unusual and complex portrayals ever given to a child actor in Hollywood. Claudia's arc required Dunst to navigate a character who mentally matured while remaining physically a child, a bizarre premise that demanded extraordinary emotional range. Dunst had to oscillate between moments of innocent childhood behavior and intense, murderous rage, most memorably when she slashes her maker, Lestat, Tom Cruise, with a razor. The role included several elements that were highly unusual for a child actor at the time. Dunst shared an intimate kiss with Brad Pitt's character Lewis, a scene she later described as embarrassing to film as a young teenager. Additionally, the film required Dunst to portray violent, vengeful behavior toward her on-screen parents, challenging conventional expectations of child actors. Anne Rice initially criticized the casting of such a young actress, but later praised Dunst's performance as capturing the character's essence perfectly. The role launched Dunst's career, but also led to typecasting challenges early in her journey. Despite these difficulties, Claudia remains one of the most defining and bizarre roles ever given to a child actor, showcasing Dunst's remarkable depth and helping to redefine what child actors could portray on screen. Natalie Portman, Seeking Revenge, Leon, the Professional, 1994. Natalie Portman's breakthrough role as Matilda, the 12-year-old girl seeking vengeance for her family's murder, in Luc Besson's 1994 film Léon the Professional, stands as one of the most controversial and bizarre roles ever given to a child actor in Hollywood history. The film sparked intense debate due to Matilda's complex relationship with her hitman mentor, Léon, Jean Reno. Their dynamic, which included Matilda's obvious infatuation with the older man and his protective yet ambiguous feelings toward her, pushed boundaries of what was considered appropriate for a child actor. A particularly controversial scene involved Matilda dressing provocatively in Léon's apartment, attempting to seduce him, a moment that raised significant concerns about the sexualization of a child character. Director Luc Besson had specifically tailored the role for Portman, who emerged victorious from a grueling audition process that saw her beat out approximately 2,000 other hopefuls. Despite the controversial material, Portman's parents closely monitored the filming process to ensure their young daughter's welfare. Portman later described the experience as complicated, acknowledging the challenging nature of portraying such a dark character at such a young age. However, she also credited the role with instilling in her a strong work ethic and helping to launch her career. The film's success propelled Portman into the Hollywood spotlight, though she deliberately avoided similar roles throughout her subsequent career. Instead, she pursued more nuanced characters, eventually winning an Oscar for her performance in Black Swan. Léon, the Professional, remains a polarizing film in Hollywood history, remembered not only for its impressive action sequences and performances, but also for the ethical questions it raised about casting children in such provocative roles. Portman's fearless debut continues to be studied as a remarkable example of a child actor tackling extraordinarily complex material. Jacob Reynolds, Disturbed Teen, Gumo, 1997. Harmony Korine made a movie called Gumo. In it, 13-year-old Jacob Reynolds played Solomon, a boy who didn't care about anything and lived in a town destroyed by a tornado. The movie had strange scenes that the actors mostly made up as they went along. For example, Solomon took baths in dirty water and ate spaghetti while sitting in a bathtub. Jacob acted with a serious face and did some weird things in the movie, like pretending to kill a chair. Some people who review movies liked it, and some didn't. Harmony Korine said the movie was like a poem. Jacob later said making the movie felt freeing. Even though Gumo became a strange favorite for some people, Jacob didn't become a big movie star. He preferred smaller roles after that, and remembered the unusual experience fondly. Drew Barrymore, a child with terrifying powers. Firestarter, 1984. After being in E.T., 9-year-old Drew Barrymore played Charlie McGee in Firestarter. Charlie could make fire with her mind, and the government was chasing her. Barrymore showed Charlie's fear and anger well, especially when Charlie burned her enemies. This role was like Barrymore's own life at the time. She was having a hard childhood and was already struggling with drugs and alcohol. The movie didn't get great reviews, but people noticed how hard Barrymore worked. Later, she came back strong with movies like Scream and Never Been Kissed. She became a big star in Hollywood. Dakota Fanning, Man on Fire, 2004. When Dakota Fanning was just 9 years old, she got a big acting job in the movie Man on Fire. She played a character named Peta, a girl who gets kidnapped in Mexico. In the movie, she had to act alongside the famous actor Denzel Washington, who played her bodyguard. Dakota did a great job showing many different emotions. She had to act scared when she was being kidnapped, happy when she was with her bodyguard, and even show pain during some difficult scenes. The director, Tony Scott, said Dakota had an old soul, meaning she seemed wiser and more talented than her young age suggested. This role helped Dakota become known as a very talented child actress. Before this movie, she had already been in some TV shows and small roles, but Man on Fire made many people notice her skills. After this film, she got more important roles in movies like War of the Worlds and Uptown Girls. Even though Dakota was becoming famous very young, she worked hard to balance her acting career with going to school. As she grew older, she continued acting in movies like The Runaways and started taking on roles for adults. Dakota Fanning's performance in Man on Fire showed everyone that she was a special talent who could handle difficult acting challenges even at a very young age. Her work in this movie helped her become one of the most respected young actresses in Hollywood. Macaulay Culkin, the child villain, The Good Son, 1993. Macaulay Culkin surprised everyone when he played Henry, a creepy child in the movie The Good Son. This role was very different from his famous character Kevin in Home Alone. In The Good Son, Culkin's character was cold and mean. He did bad things like sabotaging a sled and putting his cousin in danger. This was nothing like the funny, lovable Kevin everyone knew. The movie tried to use Culkin's angelic look in a different way, showing a dark side to his character. But people didn't like it much. The film didn't do well at the theaters, and many audiences didn't enjoy seeing Culkin in such a scary role. After this movie, Culkin took a break from acting because he was tired of the industry. He needed time away from all the attention and pressure. Even though The Good Son wasn't successful, it shows that Culkin can act in different types of roles, not just comedies. Today, the movie is remembered as an interesting but strange chapter in Culkin's career. It reminds us that child stars can try different things, even if people don't always like the results. Evan Rachel Wood, a child in a disturbing relationship. 13, 2003. At just 14 years old, Evan Rachel Wood took on one of her most challenging roles as Tracy in the 2003 film 13. The movie follows a teenager descending into drug abuse, self-harm, and rebellion against her family. This was a stark contrast to the typical roles given to young actresses at the time. The film was co-written by Nikki Reed, who co-starred as Tracy's friend. Reed drew from her own experiences with adolescence to create an authentic portrayal of teenage struggles. Wood immersed herself completely in the character, even participating in improvised scenes that captured the chaotic nature of Tracy's downward spiral. Critics praised Wood's performance for its raw vulnerability and emotional honesty. She portrayed the complexities of teenage angst with remarkable depth, showing both the pain and the occasional moments of rebellion that come with adolescence. However, the film wasn't without controversy. Some viewers and critics argued that it might glamorize teen issues rather than address them responsibly. The explicit depiction of drug use, self-harm, and family conflict raised questions about what's appropriate to show in films about young people. Despite these concerns, 13 remains a significant work in Wood's career. It demonstrated her range as an actress early on and helped establish her reputation for taking on challenging roles. After 13, Wood continued to embrace diverse characters, from her groundbreaking work in Westworld to her performances on Broadway. Haley Joel Osment, Talking to Ghosts, The Sixth Sense, 1999. Haley Joel Osment became famous at a young age for playing Cole Sear in the 1999 movie The Sixth Sense. Cole was a boy who could see dead people, which scared him very much. His most famous line was, "I see dead people," which many people remember even today. The director, M. Night Shyamalan, wanted Osment to show real fear in his performance. He asked the young actor to imagine how he would feel if he really saw ghosts. This approach helped Osment create a performance that felt very authentic. He often whispered his lines and had a look of terror in his eyes that made the character seem very believable. Osment did such a good job that he was nominated for an Oscar, which is very rare for a child actor. His performance became a standard for how child actors could portray fear and supernatural experiences in horror movies. However, becoming famous so young was difficult for Osment. After The Sixth Sense, he found it hard to get similar roles, and his career changed direction. He took some time away from big Hollywood movies and worked in smaller, independent films instead. Later, he found success in TV shows like Silicon Valley. The Sixth Sense remains an important example of how a child actor can deliver a powerful performance in a horror film. Osment's work continues to influence how directors approach young actors in scary or emotionally challenging roles. Isabel Fuhrman, The Child Who Wasn't a Child, Orphan, 2009. Isabel Fuhrman played one of horror's most memorable characters in the 2009 film Orphan. Her character, Esther, was actually a 33-year-old woman pretending to be a young child. This role was very unusual because it required Fuhrman to act like both a child and an adult at the same time. The character of Esther had to seem innocent and sweet most of the time, but then suddenly became violent and scary. Fuhrman had to practice switching between these two very different behaviors. One of the most memorable parts of her performance was when Esther would suddenly become angry and dangerous. To make Esther look convincing as both a child and her true adult form, the movie used special makeup and prosthetics. This meant Fuhrman had to sit for long periods while makeup artists transformed her appearance. The movie was controversial when it came out because some people thought it was too scary or disturbing. However, over time it gained a cult following, meaning many fans loved it, even if it wasn't popular at first. Fuhrman liked the character so much that she played Esther again in Orphan First Kill in 2022. Her performance changed how people think about evil child characters in horror movies. Instead of just being scared, Esther also had elements of tragedy, making her more complex and interesting to watch. These roles highlight the duality of child stardom, showcasing extraordinary talent while raising ethical questions. While some actors thrived, others faced typecasting or trauma. The debate continues. Should children tackle such intense material? Their performances undeniably enriched cinema, but the industry must prioritize their well-being. What's your take?